welcome into another edition of the Sports Office. I'm David Collier. He's Keegan Cooper. This is episode 23 for all you keeping count at home. We're definitely leading the way here on EL Plus, no doubt about that. No bragging at all, just the facts. All right, Texas Tech men's basketball. Keegan getting a victory. They are now 2-0 since JT Toppin was unfortunately lost for the season with an ACL tear, and taking care of business against a much bigger Cincinnati team earlier this week at United Supermarkets Arena.
Yeah, and I think it starts with the headliner in the play of Christian Anderson. I mean, what he's not only doing in scoring points, but the way that he's finding his teammates. And we have to shout out the bigs. I mean, it's not an easy task to step in and, play a big role, but Luke Bamboye and some of those other guys have really done that. Of course, Donovan Atwell being deadly from three. That floor spacing for me has really been the big difference that you've seen in the way that they're able to move the ball offensively.
Yeah, and Lawan Watts, we've talked about this. I think Cole Banker and I talked about this last week, what his role is going to be moving forward with the injury to JT Toppin. And, he's kind of been second fiddle, right? I guess technically third fiddle, maybe fourth fiddle, actually. Now, that's a big band with four different fiddles in it, but nevertheless, fourth fiddle behind the big three, including Donovan Atwell. But now he's kind of slid into that role as the important guy in the postgame as far as scoring. He had 13 points against the Bearcats earlier this week, kind of redefining his role with the Red Raiders and being a part of the offensive end. And it's worth a note as well, as great of a game that Christian Anderson had scoring. He also had a career-high 11 rebounds. The guards rebounding the basketball in the win over the Bearcats, and that's one of the things that Grant McCaslin spoke about following the win earlier this week.
But, man, did our team hang together and just played, I felt like, a consistent effort to figure out a way to improve. That's the way we played. And Christian Anderson was tremendous. He settled us. I thought Lawan Watts was awesome in the second half. Couple things that I told our guys before the game. How well do we rebound? And we out-rebounded them 40-24. And then could we guard them without fouling? And we ended up making more free throws than they shot. So, man, we haven't done that back-to-back games all year long, and we did it.
So with the win, the Red Raiders now 21-7 overall. 11 wins, I believe, in Big 12 play, and 3 more Big 12 games remaining for Texas Tech. And you like what you see from the bigs in that contest, Keegan, just because you were facing some other bigs that certainly had their way scoring, but overall you looked good against them. But now it gets a little bit tougher. 2 of the next 3 on the road, and starting this weekend against one of the best teams in the country, in the Iowa State Cyclones.
Most definitely, and I think it goes back to what Coach McCaslin has said about they're going to have to keep up that defensive intensity, and guys are going to have to step up and rotate in and almost platoon guys, if you will, so that the energy, wherever they're playing, whether it's at home or on the road, especially this Saturday, that defensive intensity and that energy doesn't drop. Because without JT Toppin, it's a big loss for them. So they've got to keep guys in and out and keep that intensity up.
Yeah, and all those people that will be putting together, obviously, the field of 60, whatever it is these days, they still have a close eye on the Red Raiders because of the loss of JT Toppin. The 2-0 start is nice, but you go against Iowa State, you're probably not going to be dinged for losing to one of the best teams in the country on their home court. But TCU has played good basketball, and there have been times where it's been a struggle against them, right? You host TCU, and then you go to BYU. BYU has not necessarily looked great, but A.J. DeBonsa had a bad game in Lubbock, Texas, probably looking for revenge there. They're dealing with the loss of Richie Saunders as well. But the last game of the regular season, you certainly expect to take at least 1. You would like to have 2. You don't want to lose 3 and have that on your resume going into the Big 12 tournament as far as seeding goes for the NCAA tournament.
No, most definitely. Most definitely.
All right, Lady Raiders. We've talked about it all year long. They're probably getting into the NCAA tournament. The fact that there's a little bit of hesitation there, it just scares you a little bit. But having some struggles as they wrap up the regular season. We'll talk about their trip to Lawrence, Kansas, and what we think about where they look going into the postseason when the Sports Office continues here on EL Plus.
Well, welcome back to the Sports Office here on EL Plus. Talking Lady Raiders basketball and the NCAA tournament where they're going to land. Tough one for the Lady Raiders a night ago, dropping a game that you probably don't want to be dropping when March is right around the corner, David.
Yeah, you're taking on the Kansas Jayhawks. You're hoping for the series sweep of Kansas. You hadn't won in Lawrence since 2021, so it was going to be a tough task against Brandon Snyder's Jayhawks. You won the first meeting in Lubbock, 70-65. That was an ugly contest, and unfortunately, this one got ugly as well for the Lady Raiders. They were leading the majority of this basketball game, Keegan, but they could never separate. Their largest lead was 7 points in the first half, and it just seemed, despite a career game from Sarah Sanogo, who scored 16 points for Texas Tech, and some good defense, the offense kind of faltered against the Jayhawks. And to be fair, this is a Jayhawks basketball team that's on the NCAA tournament bubble. This only helps their chances of making the postseason, getting a win against a top 25 team in the Lady Raiders. And the Lady Raiders just had something they couldn't afford, and it was one of those bad quarters that they've had from time to time this year. In the fourth quarter, they score a total of 7 points, which matches their season low point total of the year. And I mentioned Coach Schneider, and he talked about the physicality of the game here in Lubbock in his post-game press conference. He said something, not quoting him directly here, and I won't put a number to it, but he said if this game here in Lubbock was officiated in Lawrence, we would shoot a lot more free throws. It was 20 or more. It was something significant. He was frustrated with the lack of calls by the referees here in Lubbock, Texas, and they kind of made up for that like a millionfold in Lawrence last night. Samaya Nichols basically took over in the fourth quarter. She scored 8 fourth-quarter points, and they were all from the free throw line. She fouled out 2 Lady Raiders, Danae Fritz and Jalen Bristow, in that fourth quarter. Sarah Sanogo got 2 of her late fouls. 3 different Lady Raiders had 4 fouls in that contest. The free throw disparity here, as I pull up the extended stats, the Lady Raiders, I think, took 9 free throws in this game. Yes, they were 5 for 9 from the free throw line. Kansas was 24 for 27. It's pretty hard to overcome that. And I mentioned Nichols. She had 8 in the fourth quarter. She had how many points? 19 points in the game, and 15 of those came from the free throw line.
Yeah, it's a tough go of it, and I hate to use this word, but it's the inconsistency that the Lady Raiders are playing with. We've seen them be at the top of their game when they beat, TCU, when they beat Baylor, but then they lose to Oklahoma State. Now you drop this one, and we've got to find that consistency as you head into March. Tough one when you give up 20 free throws and you get outscored in the fourth quarter 20-7.
Yeah.
It's difficult to overcome, and they've got to get it right headed into the Big 12 tournament, and then hopefully into the NCAA tournament.
And Texas Tech has been a good defensive team. I think the more physical teams are going to give them a problem, and you can see part of that with Bailey Maupin's night. She scores 10 points, but she's 8 for 9 or 0 for 8 from the 3-point line, 4 for 14 from the field. Clearly frustrated at times by that Kansas defense, and that's one of the people that she scored in double figures. But I think you're hoping for more than 10 points from Bailey Maupin on a regular night. Sarah Sanogo scores 16. I mean, Snutta Collins usually averages 16. She's down to 11. You get 3 people in double figures, but Bailey Maupin's going to need to score more points if you're planning on winning basketball games. And you need to win this basketball game. Senior night this weekend, Sunday at United Supermarkets Arena. You're going to be recognizing a lot of seniors on this basketball team, including Maupin. And you're welcoming in an Arizona State team. And I mentioned that Kansas was on the bubble. Charlie Cream, ESPN's bracketologist for the women's basketball side, has 3 Big 12 teams on the first 4 out of his NCAA tournament projections. Utah is 1, Kansas is 1, Arizona State is 1. So you're facing another team that needs a win against a ranked opponent to have a chance to make the NCAA tournament. When you look at the schedule early on, you're like, oh, that's a team that you can, probably rely on a win. But Lady Raiders currently a 6 seed, according to Charlie Cream's projections. But that could drop to 9-10 if they lose this game and lose their first game at the Big 12 tournament as well. So Krista Gurley's club certainly needs at least one win over the next couple of games.
Yeah, and I think being back at home will be a settling feeling, and you want that win headed into the Big 12 tournament because you want to boost your stock before the NCAA tournament rolls around, and you can end up not getting a great matchup in the first round, and you want to be playing into the second and third weekend of the tournament.
Yeah, getting to the NCAA tournament for this Lady Raider team is certainly going to be a success, but, every team wants to get at least one win in the postseason if you're going to make it there. All right, a team that won a lot of postseason games a year ago, that would be the Texas Tech softball team. Right now, they are 16-1, and all Red Raider fans are certainly excited about that. They just want to actually see them in person because you've only had the opportunity to watch the first 3 weeks of the season on some kind of subscription television of some sort. Well, you can go to Rocky Johnson Field this weekend. Starting Thursday, they will open up the Janine McHaney Classic. Janine McHaney Memorial Classic, if you want to get specific. And it starts against Abilene Christian Thursday at 5 there at Rocky Johnson Field. The last time fans were at Rocky Johnson Field, they were welcoming the team home to celebrate their national runner-up against the University of Texas at the Women's College World Series. Tonight, you can expect a large crowd for the home opener, and there's some new amenities at Rocky Johnson Field, something that Jerry Glasgow is certainly excited about as they set to open up the home slate.
Super excited to finally come home and play at home in our stadium, our revamped stadium. At the new awning, beautiful, bright red, looks really good. New sound system, sounds great. The new lights, it just really made it into a beautiful softball stadium. I have every reason to think we're going to have a great crowd here, and the kids they're rocking and rolling, waiting to see this loud crowd out here, and so everybody's pumped.
All right, so the Janine McHaney Memorial Classic underway Thursday at 5 against Abilene Christian. That's the first of 5 games for Texas Tech this weekend at Rocky Johnson Field. They'll play 2 against North Texas, 2 against Texas A&M Corpus Christi, and Detroit Mercy as well. So 6 games in all, Keegan. My question to you, this Red Raider team has 10 run rule wins, I believe, already this season in 17 games. How many run rule victories does the Texas Tech softball team, number 2 team in the country, get this weekend in their 6 outings at Rocky Johnson Field?
Give me 4 run rule victories. I mean, the offensive potency, I'll say, that this Red Raider team has shown in their first, 3 weeks of the season is pretty incredible. I mean, the home run total and just the way that they put the ball in play and allow things to happen. And so, yeah, give me 4 run rolls on the weekend, and then 2 games that might hang around. We might see a full 7 innings played.
You have a sports office prediction in the real sports office, not the one here in the CTV studios here on EL Plus. What's your number of home runs? We might as well put it on the record.
Yeah, I predicted that the Red Raiders softball team would hit 150, and I don't know the current number they're at, but at the pace they're going, it's maybe a little overreaching. But
I should know. I think it's 23. I have a home run tracker on social media. That's bad of me not knowing the number, but that leads me into my prediction. I'm going to go with 6 run rules this weekend. They've already run ruled North Texas once. They have 10 run rules, I believe that's the number, on the season. And you know what those 10 games have in common? Florida, I think that's like basically sea level last time I checked, right? They played in California. Now, I saw mountains on the broadcast, but I know that there's an ocean really close.
Yeah.
So that's close to sea level. They played in College Station and at McNeese State. I don't think that elevation is anywhere near Lubbock, Texas. You know what happens to softballs and baseballs in elevation?
They fly.
They fly.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to get helped out quite a bit on your prediction this weekend, so I will go with 6 run rules for the Red Raiders in 6 games. All right, the baseball team also at home this weekend as they continue their own homestand. A perfect weekend last week at Dan Law Field, going 4-0 against Albany. They welcome Cal State Bakersfield to the Rocky Johnson or to Dan Law Field this weekend. I guess, what are your thoughts going into this weekend? But besides Jackson Burns' little slip up early on in the opener last week against UAlbany, I thought the pitching staff, for the most part, looked pretty good, right?
Yeah, they did, especially against UAlbany, and I think that's their X factor this season. And I, pulled some statistics for you. Game 1 against UAlbany, 9 walks, 3 hit by pitch, not great, 16-8, but they get the win. I think the bats help them out there. Game 2, they win 15-1, only 2 walks. Game 3, 5 walks and 3 hit by pitch, so they win 8-6. But again, I think the bats pull it through. And then you look at Game 4, 1 walk, they win 10-0. So pitching staff for that weekend pretty good. But I think it comes down to, hey, can you limit free passes and then let the bats do the work.
And I think in the one game on Saturday, I believe it was not your traditional starter. Yeah, it was not. It was one of the individuals that pitched earlier in the week against UTRGV. It wasn't your Jackson Burns, Lucas Perko, or Connor Mohan, who right now will be your weekend rotation. So that little blip in the radar kind of makes sense when you're going with a reliever / midweek potential starter as well. People worth mentioning from the past weekend, Lincoln Garcia has to go on the top of that list, right? Named Big 12 Newcomer of the Week after hitting 3 home runs, driving in 11 runs, driving in 13 runs, and I think scoring 11 runs. Nevertheless, batting over 400 against the Great Danes, and he has just been impressive. He has 13 runs batted in on the season. That's what it is. But he has been impressive at the shortstop for a freshman. Is there anybody else that stood out? I know you were out there on Sunday, and there was a particular right fielder that's been pretty good as well.
Yeah, no, I think just talking about Lincoln Garcia here for a second, the way that he was seeing the ball at the plate and working the count to get his pitch, that was something that he talked about a little bit after in the postgame about, it's a lot less pressure on the pitching staff and even the defense when, the offense goes out there and puts up as many runs as they did on the weekend. When they scored 40 runs, I think, something like that.
70.
Oh yeah, there you go.
70 runs. Yeah,
there you go. So pretty incredible for them too. And I know Logan Hughes and then Jesse. I'm forgetting his last name. Rusnick. Yeah. Some of the plays that he made in right field. Everybody's like, oh, it's a foul ball, but he was able to go and get some of those foul balls, turn them into outs, and the effort level that he played with. I think he had 2 stolen bases too. He's super quick, super agile. It was fun to watch.
He hit his first career home run. I'm pretty sure he took the walk on the walk-off walk on the Sunday 10-0 win as well. And a bonus, he's a left-handed pitcher that they can use out of the bullpen. Tim Tadlock actually said on his coach's show this week that there would be a possibility that Rusnick could be playing in right field and then, matchup-wise, if there's a guy that's a lefty at the plate, he could come in and pitch, and then they would just put him right back in right field. It's kind of like a softball type, deal. I mean, you're clearly not taking him out like you can in softball, but I think that would be interesting to see him come in, situationally, just move him in from right field, put him on the mound for a batter or two, and then throw him back out in right field. But I tell you one thing, to have 2 freshmen, and it's early. I mean, I've seen this before in years past, the freshmen having a good start against non-conference competition and then, get the wake-up call. But you got to be excited with what Lincoln Garcia and Rusnick have done over the first couple of weeks, without a doubt. All right, we'll have highlights of that, obviously, throughout the weekend on both platforms, the television platforms here in Lubbock, Texas, KLBK and KMAC. And we'll also be talking track and field. The Big 12 Track and Field Championships back in Lubbock, Texas for a 3rd straight year. We'll hear from defending Big 12 champion head coach Wes Kitley when the Sports Office continues here on EL+. Back here on the Sports Office, Big 12 Championship Indoor Track and Field Championships back in Lubbock, Texas for a 3rd straight year. Texas Tech, the defending champion on both the men's and women's side. We had a chance to visit with head coach Wes Kitley on how he thinks his teams will finish this time around earlier this week.
Yeah, I feel real confident that we can go win both. Now, we've got to have good meets, and our kids are going to have to step up and, You know, as I say, this is championship season, and we've got to have a really good meet. I think we have a little bit more room on the men's side to not be perfect, but I think on our women's side, we're going to have the best meet we've had all year. But I fully expect us to do that.
All right, from the real fast people there from track and field to the guys that are trying to be fast at the NFL Combine, getting underway Thursday in Indianapolis. 8 different Red Raiders are there for Texas Tech, including Skylar Gill-Howard. He said earlier this week he's not going to do any of the on-the-field workouts there. He's healthy and getting back into playing shape. He'll do all that stuff at Pro Day, but you've got plenty of others trying to prove how high they should be ranked. 3 on the offensive side, and everybody going on day 1 on the defensive side. It's defensive linemen and linebackers. A lot of those guys speaking with the media in Indianapolis earlier this week ahead of their on-field workouts.
Last season was fun, and I'm happy that I did as well as I did. But I'm looking forward to starting my NFL career.
Same thing, same mindset. Mindset don't change. I still think I'm a brick wall when I got 2 people on me, 600 pounds on me.
I feel like I'm not really scratching the surface of the football player that I can become. I feel like there's just so much stuff I can work on. I can become a great player. So I feel like taking that next step, getting underneath a scheme and a coaching staff that can push me to become a great player, like I feel like they can bring out a lot more in me.
All right, Keegan. So obviously there's a lot of measurements going on there at the NFL Combine. One of them is the hand size, and reportedly David Bailey is 10 1/4 for his hand size. Jacob Rodriguez 9 1/4. 9 1/4 for Romello Height, or Lee Hunter as well, and Romello Height at 9 1/2 for his hand size. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple of other numbers here. Dak Prescott, and again, I'm not a math guy. 10.8 is what we will say for his hand size. Joe Burrow 9, and Kenny Pickett. We all remember Kenny Pickett and maybe that failed experiment, right? Yeah. 8 1/2 inches for his hand size. So with that, it's the sports office combine. No sprinting or running or bench press or anything here. We're just going to measure hand size. And how you do this, and I'll let you go ahead first, is basically you measure from the tip of your thumb to the tip of your pinky, and we have a ruler set up here. So go ahead and do it real quick. We've kind of already tested the numbers here, but again, hopefully we're not under the Kenny Pickett 8 1/2. What do you got there?
I got 9 1/4.
9 1/4.
Okay.
So 9 1/4. So you basically have the hand of number 5 in the Heisman voting, and a guy that won every single defensive award imaginable is Jacob Rodriguez, as well as Lee Hunter. So my time is now. So I'll let you take over the microphone.
Okay, so 9 1/4 now.
How tall are you, Keegan?
6'1".
6'1". Okay. For the record, I am not 6'1". We'll just put it at that. And let's see here. This is where when you stretch as much as possible. 9 1/2.
Well, you got me by a little bit there.
I've got the Romello Height hands is what I have.
Yeah.
None of us quite matching David Bailey, but that's why he's going to be potentially the number 2 overall pick in the NFL draft. Do you like the NFL Combine?
I do and I don't, right? And I think what I like about it is you do get to see the size and you get the measurements and you get this too. But what I love is it's lineman day, right? They're running the 40-yard yeah. dash, right? And you want to see their speed, right? But I don't necessarily see in the NFL a lineman running 40 yards,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So it is a great, I think, tool to just see how, athletic and how versatile these guys are at the same time. What's that high school, physical fitness drill where you go side to side, and they test that?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want to see them do. Yeah. And I know they do stuff like that too. So
you got all the cone drills and like the broad jump
like
and all that stuff. A lot of these Texas Tech guys did their damage on the field and at the Senior Bowl practices, right? Mm-hmm. I think this opportunity is best for a guy like Skylar Gill-Howard. I mentioned earlier he's not doing any of the on-field stuff. He said he might do the bench press, which is the last day they're there. But his opportunity to talk to all of these teams and for them to see what type of leader he was for Texas Tech after an injury and the work he's been doing since then, I think is immeasurable for a guy like that. because I think he was going to get an opportunity at the next level now that they see all of the stuff and the great head that's on his shoulders. Hopefully this week in Indianapolis helps him out and gets him drafted and gives him the opportunity like a Lee Hunter, like a Romello Height, and certainly David Bailey and Jacob Rodriguez as well. All right, that's our time. We'll let you know more about what comes out of the NFL Combine when we're back next week for episode 24 of the Sports Office here on EL Plus. Catch up, guys.